And Kenny Bolton and I have had a few emails back and forth since we reconnected. And but it's nice to see all of you. I was very taken by how accomplished, at least the people who wanted to take part in this were. Maybe it's a selection process that people whose lives aren't quite as together might not want to be part of it. But in any event, I think a lot of you probably remember very well our school days at Hugh Beaton. One thing I might say, I don't know how many of you have been back, but a few years ago, I was back in Windsor. I still have my brother there. And before my late parents passed on, we visited, and I went to the school. And I have to tell you, I was so depressed going back to Hugh Beaton to see how it had really decayed from the days we were there. There was some beautiful mahogany wood or whatever kind of wood they had in the hallways and so on. It was all gone. I don't know if you remember when we used to line up inside the front doors. There was this balustrade of steps going up with flags, and on the walls there were these gorgeous prints from World War I, you know, because we were there in the 50s, all gone. Who knows where they went. Anyway, I was very, very, very distressed to see, you know, the old story, you can't go home again. Well, I don't know if any of you had that experience, but I was very saddened. But on the other hand, I remember all the teachers we had and those memories, and certainly memories of you. Anyway, I've talked too long, so thank you very much.
Great. Well, thanks, Lauren. Also, Doug Copeman said he lived next door to you for 18 years. That must have been a bit of an adventure in its own.
We had our adventures, but it was largely good. It was largely good, I must say. He was a lot bigger than me. I had to be careful or he'd sit on me.
You got home safely almost every day, Lauren.
Almost.
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah, almost every day.
Okay, Susan Brunk. Susan.
Hi, I live in Severna Park, Maryland. You may remember that I was an American citizen and was simply living in Canada all those years. I have been widowed once. I remarried, and I'm happily married the last 30 years. We have five collective children, 7 grandchildren. I liked reading about all the things that you all remembered, because I had forgotten all about Pirates of Penzance and Miss Ford's square dancing, which I hated. And we did go back to Hugh Beaton about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and walked through the building while the children were in session there. And unlike you, Lauren, I kind of thought it was pretty neat. It kind of really brought back memories. Y'all remember when we used to be in the halls and listen to people being strapped and the people wailing down the hallway? Wonderful things. I've had a very interesting life. Jack didn't mention that I'm a retired tax assessor, but I also did some teaching in my background. Yeah, we're getting along pretty well. Barbara Bugner and I have been in touch a lot over the last years, and that's been fun. Barbara Cotton, I haven't seen you in many years, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say too. So I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to hear, but that's what I have to offer.
Great. Well, thanks, Susan. We'll probably have a little back and forth as we go through this list, and we've heard from everybody. Bob, we used to know Bob Burns as Bobby. He corrected us yesterday. He's now Robert. So he's got a little more proper in his old age. So, Bob, over to you.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to see everyone. I went through the pictures and I was able to put names on about 30 people, 25, and I was proud of doing that. I'm a retired school teacher. I live in Port Severn with my wife of 54 years, Catherine, and we have 2 daughters. Both are engineers and both live in Calgary. One is in teaching, and she's teaching a pre-engineering course to high school kids. And my other daughter is a stay-at-home mother. And we have 2 grandkids, and we live in, I think I mentioned, in Port Severn, and my hobbies were basically wood carving, and we were involved in stone carving, and we were involved with some political aspect in the township of Georgian Bay on committees on, I was a teacher librarian for 22 years in an inner city school in Etobicoke, and we got building libraries in the township of Georgian Bay, and that was quite an endeavor, and we enjoyed doing that. I think that's about it. Oh, and Doug Copeland, I guess he can't, maybe he can hear me. He mentioned yesterday that he had a blue pencil of mine for 10 years or something. I kept after him year after year, and I've gone through. Not me. Anyway, Doug had mentioned that I kept after him about this blue pencil he borrowed. And I went through my journals from grade 2 on, and I didn't see anything at all noted there about a blue pencil with Doug. So I think maybe Doug had a weak moment there.
That happens. That happens. Well, thank you, Bob. I want to recognize Donna Morrow has joined us, and we wouldn't be doing this without Donna's assistance. So welcome, Donna. You've been the glue to, and you know, a little story. Donna, yesterday we had this warm up, and Donna sat for over an hour waiting for it to come on, and she hadn't pressed the right button. So I'm glad you figured out how to do this, Donna. Welcome. You're on mute, Donna. Donna, you're on mute.
Donna, unmute.
Unmute, there it is.
There you
Okay,
go.
now?
We can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, good.
Hi.
Hello. Oh, hi, Anita.
Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to tell you all, maybe you're not all there yet, but I wanted to tell all of you what a pleasure it's been to do this work. You know what a boring pandemic this has been. Nothing to do. It's given me something really interesting to do. And I loved Hugh Beaton and Walkerville and getting together with classmates again. So I'm really pleased to have been part of this. I hope that we all can continue to be part of this and email back and forth. And it's been suggested by Anita and a couple of other people that perhaps people would like to exchange email addresses and carry on chatting with each other afterwards. And I would imagine that will be the case. I will be glad to help and be an intermediary if needed and or if wanted, and we can have some fun. So it's been a pleasure. I'm going to leave soon. I'm going to sit and watch. I'm, not going to. I wasn't in your class, so I have my own. So I'll just be listening. Okay.
Thanks for your help, Donna. Great. Thank you.
A pleasure.
Okay, Doug Copeland. Doug, you're on.
Okay. Well, I graduated from Walkerville, graduated from University of Windsor, went off to Africa for a couple of years, came back, taught English as a special language, which was, that was only 1 year's worth of that. Then went on, I guess the game plan was to get an A certificate to go into teaching, if people remember that, because that's where the top of the pay scale was at those days. But went from there, going on to graduate school. And, did finish that, taught chemistry and biology for many years, retired the day before I was 60. And that's been pretty much it. To live in St. John's. We moved there, well, from now, about 50 years ago. Lived there for 42, and then kept coming here to Strathroy, which is just down the road from London. One of the reasons for that is because I have two daughters, one of which works in London at the university. And she was really a star in my estimations. She'd been at Cambridge in the UK and had been working on artificial pancreas, which was actually successful using pig cells. But anyway, like any a lot of science research now is not a very stable place to work because it's grant to grant to grant, and that's not good if you want to have a family. So they moved their business to Western. Well, half of it was in Western, and half was in Boston, and so that's her life. And she's married and has a daughter, a dynamite 10-year-old girl. And my other daughter works for NOAA in Oregon, by the way, and she is also a PhD research science, but she's working for government, so at least she has a steady salary. And she has a son who is another dynamite piece. So I'll tell you that one thing that I'm really happy about is with both my grandkids, I've heard about bonding, in biology course and so on like that. But I was very lucky because for the grandson who was first, they lived 2 blocks from where we were. And we got to do the grandparent thing every day, sometimes all the time, every day. It was terrific. And then that was fine. So then we moved here to London/Strathroy. The same thing happened with my elder daughter, and she had a girl. And again, it's the same thing. So that's one piece of biology that I had read about, and I'm really glad that I got to experience that. And that's about it. Right now I'm growing Scotch bonnet peppers. Gonna make some hot sauce for somebody. If anybody wants something, I'll be more than welcome to send you some. But it's not for the faint of heart. Anyway, that's about it for me. That's it.
Great. Thanks, Jack. We'll carry on a little later. Barbara Cotton. Barbara, where are you? Did we lose Barbara? Where is she? She was here. Barbara, are you gone?
She needs to unmute her. She needs to unmute her microphone.
She's still on the screen. I can't see her.
She's
still
right
there.
here.
Right.
here.
I must warn you that I keep getting the message that my internet connection is on.
We've lost you, Barbara.
I'm really happy to see all of you. You look great, all of you. And also, it's really nice to see Barbara Buchner. I haven't seen her for such a long time. I live in Guelph, with the same town as Joanne, and I guess Anita is also close to me. It's nice. Maybe we should get together sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I told you everything in my email. I have my older son just recently moved to Guelph from Toronto, and he has 2 children. So we spend a lot of time with them. And our older daughter is like Barbara, a horse. She's in love with horses, and she is in constantly riding. We have to keep taking her to the barn every day. She goes about 5 or 6 days a week to ride her horse Elo, and we go to all the competitions. Not this summer, but another time. So we've enjoyed having them here. But I'm really pleased to see all of you. Nice to see.
Great, okay, well, thank you, Barbara. Bill Ambler, Bill, we went in alphabetical order and you weren't in the photo, you know, and I said you were playing hooky, you know, we've been missing the photo, and when you were late getting here, you probably have to stand at the back of the class again, so. Can you, Bill, you gotta unmute. You know, can you hear me? Bill, do you know how to unmute?
Press the little microphone button.
Microphone button, Bill?
Is Bill on the screen? I don't see him.
He's down the bottom, yeah, he's down the bottom underneath Bob Burns. Okay, well, Bill, while you're figuring this out.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, you're on the air. Well done, Bill. Good work.
Oh, there he is.
Hi, Bill. Oh, it was very complicated. It said unmute and
Yeah.
caught onto it right away. Well, it's good to see everybody, and it's good that so many of us are still around, considering our age in a way. We might have the odds beat by a bit. I should never have said that. And I live in London, Ontario, retired. And I taught, I went to University of Windsor, and then I taught high school in Dundas at Parkside High School for 14 years. I was taking courses at Mac, and also Honeywell Institute of Technology had courses because they were having a hard time getting people, and they were trying to train people for that area of business, and I really liked it. I didn't like programming at all, wasn't good at it at all. And then they came up with data communications, which I fell in love with because my hobby has always been ham radio. So it was sort of like my hobby when I got paid for it. So I did that for quite a while till I retired. And we're retired in London here. My wife is Lorene. We met just in the summer after grade 13. We were both working in a resort, and we kept in touch with one another. She ended up in Burlington, quite close to Dundas. And we met up, and we got married, and we have 4 children. One in Toronto, one in Oshawa, well, 2 in Toronto, 1 in Oshawa, and 1 in Kincardine. She works at the nuke plant because we lived in Kincardine for a while after I retired, about 14 years or so. And then she got a job there, so that's where she works. And it's really great to see everybody. I'll keep it short. You have a lot to do. So I tried getting in using a Samsung Galaxy tablet. And I could see everybody last night. I couldn't hear them. And the kids got me this tablet because they thought it'd be so handy. So tonight, Lorraine said, forget that. We'll just go on the computer. And we both fiddled around until we finally ended up here. So I'll turn it back because you've got a lot of people to do there. Thanks for organizing all this, Jack. And thanks to everybody.
Great, thanks, Bill. I'm glad you're able to get the technology sorted out. Sheila, you're next. You're on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes?
You can. Hello, Jack. And hello, Donna. I just want to thank
Hello.
you for,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you for all of this. I'm going to miss having you write to me every day.
I will still write.
Okay, good. And Jack, thank you. You're not the best emailer in the world, but you've become very good in the last 5 months, I have to say. And where are you? Are you in your house?
No, I'm sitting in my office.
You're not in front of the bridge.
No, that's the It is Sydney, though. It is Sydney. Yeah.
Yes,
He actually
Um,
owns the bridge, you know, Sheila.
I'm pretty sure. So anyway, I think I'm like a lot of people, and I didn't recognize a lot of faces, unlike Jack, who told me he could see everybody and knew them. But then knowing Jack, he's kept up with them for 65 years. I did last week reconnect with three of my best friends, Linda Robertson and Judy Pritchard and Allison Orr. We had a Zoom, a pre-Zoom for this because we didn't know if we could speak to each other. So now I'm recognizing a lot of people. And Jack, does that mean my time's up?
No, keep going.
Okay, I get a thing on it. So anyway, we're out in the Eastern Townships in Quebec right now. And we have all our three boys are living in Montreal. So we've been a big bubble this summer. And we've had a varied life, I guess. So
I would say that's an understatement. I would say that's an understatement, that varied life.
So we have 5 grandchildren who have been here most of the summer. As we turned, the boat club wasn't open, so we had everything here. And so it's been very nice. And I'm just not sure. We actually had dinner with Jack and Sharon in January in Sydney. And thank goodness, because heaven knows when we're ever going to get back there again. I haven't been back to Hugh Beaton. I have been back to Walkerville. I've taken my grandchildren around Williston, but I've never gone back to Hugh Beaton. So, but I have wonderful memories of it. Especially, actually, I do remember the square dance now that everybody's talking about it. I thought we had sock hops on Friday afternoons, and nobody else seems to remember that. Anyway, it's a long 6 months, and I guess we've got more to go through, but things like this make it all a lot more fun. And Bob Burns, I will reply to your email that you sent me. I just haven't had time. So that's it. And hello, Anita. Long time.
Hi.
Thanks, Sheila. Sheila, we had a warm up yesterday for those unfamiliar, and we uncovered a problem. Tom Tomlinson was on. He said he had a doctor's appointment. I haven't seen him yet today. He said he
I know. Did you? You've told Tommy about my crush.
Yes, we did tell him what you did, but that's not the problem. We also found that Judy Fletcher also had a crush on him at the same time. So Tom is.
Well, she didn't tell me that.
Yeah, well, that's what that's the purpose, to get this information out 65 years later. Yeah.
Well, Tommy didn't know he was so.
Yeah, but I said earlier, he's about 10 foot tall now that he knows that he had 2 girls with unexpressed crushes on him, which he didn't realize. He said he wished he knew at the time. So.
And think what he missed.
Okay, Judy, you're next. Judy Fletcher. Judy, you're on mute.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, where do you want me to start?
Wherever you feel like starting, Judy. How about that crush on Tom Tomlinson? You want to get into that?
No.
Let that go.
Yeah. No, but this has really been great. You know, it took my mind off what I'm dealing with this 10-year-old I keep. He's been here since March. So I don't know for how much longer, but anyway, I retired in 2007. And after, 10 years, I got bored. So I kept going into this grocery store I was shopping in all the time. And they said, you know, you should have a job here. You're here all the time. So I got a job stocking shelves. And I loved it because you're just by yourself. But then they left town. I don't know if you've heard of Kroger. Big grocery conglomerate, right? So now I wish I could go back and do something else because I'm going nuts. You know, just there's nothing to do. The more you keep busy, the better off we are, right?
True.
Yeah. It's like Jack. Look at him. Holding up a bridge.
Sorry about that, Judy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Things have been good other than the COVID. And once we get over that, we'll get back to normal and then I can fly up to Windsor or drive, whatever.
Judy lives in North or South Carolina, Judy?
North Carolina, Raleigh. Yeah. So if anybody's going south and you're on 95 or 85, stop in.
Great. Okay, well, thank you, Judy. Doug Gordon.
Okay, thank you.
Doug, where are you? I'm
Right here.
There he is. Okay, Doug.
Jack and Donna, thank you very much for all the work you've done in putting this together.
You're welcome.
Everybody that I meet and tell them, guess what's happening on Tuesday evening? And I don't meet all that many people. It's usually talking on the phone or Zoom meetings and that. They're really impressed. Well, so was I. So it is good to see everybody. I was really impressed too, I think somebody else said it, with the variety of lives we have all led. I don't think there are any two that are the same. And obviously quite successfully. I know I've enjoyed my life. I married a wonderful woman named Carol, and we had 2 boys, and we now have 3 granddaughters. They range in age from 6 to 13. So we were a little bit later starting than some people. But you know, I was basically a businessman for most of my life and retired. Well, I can almost not remember how long ago I retired. It was about 19 years ago. And I just enjoy doing things around here, various activities. Used to enjoy curling, but that's not going anywhere lately, and playing bridge and things like that. So a lot of that is curtailed, of course, but I still keep myself busy doing a whole bunch of other things. Good to see everybody and listen to your stories.
Doug, I was interested in reading in your story that sometimes you play bagpipe music. It's supposed to be a throwback to the Walkerville Pipe Band. So.
Oh yeah, well I played with John and Doug Copeman.
You said that.
And, now don't get me wrong, I don't play the pipes themselves, I can't.
No.
But I do have a whole bunch of CDs that I absolutely love.
Well.
And there, you know, a lot of people don't like bagpipe music. And if I ever hear them say that, I always tell them, well, to be honest with you, have you actually heard good bagpipe music? Because bad bagpipe music, yes, I agree, it's pretty bad. But good bagpipe music is just wonderful. Very stirring.
I'm sure we'll all have our own opinions on that. But anyway, I'm interested to hear that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Scott Gregory, Windsor resident. Scott, you're representing the team here. Unmute.
Right?
You're on, Doug. It's okay, Scott, go ahead. We can hear you.
Oh, good, good. First, I want to thank everybody for staying alive so I could say hello to you all this time. That's a nice thing. Thank you. I did get back to Hugh Beaton about 20 years ago. I was playing volleyball with some league. I don't know, but we played in the gym. And it was just a gym, you know, no big revelation or anything like that. I want to ask if anybody was in grade 6 at Hugh Beaton and had Miss Glenn for a teacher. She had a green Morris Minor car, and she had a name for it. I remember the car, I remember her, but I can't remember the name of that damn thing. And if anybody does, would you let me know? It's just a little thing that's been bugging me for like 60 years now. Lauren, my memory of you is that you were the guy that told me Albert Einstein died. I remember that. Anita, I think at one time you had pigtails. Is that correct? Well, maybe.
used to sit in front of me, and we had inkwells still in our desk in grade 7. I remember you sat in front of me, and I was always tempted to stick your hair in the inkwell. I don't know if I ever did that, but it was a thought.
Did Albert Einstein really die when I told you that? Or was I filling you in on something?
I mean, I had no reason to doubt you, but I remember we were out in the playground at Hugh Beaton, and you told me that Albert Einstein died.
Well, I still miss him.
Yeah, he was a good friend. Yeah, we were pen pals. Not many people know that.
I know, he once sent me an email. He says, Lauren, E equals MC squared. I said, Al, thanks a lot. I'll remember that.
He was considerate. I don't mind this COVID thing, like being quarantined, staying inside at all. I mean, I'm an artist. I work by myself anyhow. You know, we don't retire. We just get old and our hair turns white, but we still work.
Some of our hair turns white.
Pardon?
I said, not everybody's hair turns white.
Well, actually, yeah.
Mine's out of a bottle.
I don't know. Yeah, well, I know, not everybody. Hey, I got those good Celtic shades. My mom.
My wife Jill says I just give gray. I give people gray, but
Well, yeah. Somebody earlier on, I don't know who it was because I can't remember that far back tonight, said they had a cat that lived to be 21. Well, my old girl Diesel, she was going to be, her next birthday, she would have been 23. And the vet said that was some kind of record. He'd never seen a cat that old. And somebody was talking about teaching and not getting paid very much. And I remember my first year teaching, 1966. And we were paid $3,600 a year. And we got paid once a month. And that was a shit, really terrible. I think that's about it. I made notes, so I would, oh yeah, John Bowden. I read in your little note that you learned to speak Japanese, and it quite impressed me because I'd spent some time there. I didn't learn the language, but I loved the culture, I loved the people. And I didn't learn much of the language, but I sure liked the country. And that's it.
Hey, Scott, do you have a gallery? What type? You got a gallery? What do you do in the art world? You just paint, sell?
Yeah, I'm a painter.
Yeah.
You can actually Google me. I think I haven't put anything up there, but other people have. So there's some propaganda up there about Scott Gregory artists, you know, and people ask me what kind of art do I make? And I always tell them really good. For anything. So, all right. Good to see you people. And like everybody else, I wouldn't recognize anybody here. But we're all in that. Thanks, man.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Eddie Colflesh. Ed, where are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for organizing all of this. I've enjoyed the last month or so reading about everybody, and I'm so impressed with the accomplishments and happiness everybody seems to have gotten out of life. And I'm no exception to that. I went into teaching after Walkerville, and I taught 3 years in Windsor Riverside. It was Riverside then, hadn't joined up to the Big Windsor yet. And saved a lot of money and decided to go back to school, which I did. I went back to get a degree at Waterloo, and then I had met my wife by then, my wife now, and so she was teaching in Port Credit, and so of course I didn't move back to Windsor. I moved to Port Credit, and I started teaching for the Peel Board, and then I eventually moved to up here to Aurelia, and we've lived in Aurelia ever since. I taught in various capacities. I was in education for mostly teaching I loved the classroom job. I just enjoyed teaching so much. I loved every minute of it. But there comes a time when someone says, you know, there are all these young teachers lined up and they don't have jobs. Your retirement age and you've put in your required time, it's time to go. So I kind of got pushed out. But retirement, there's no such thing. I think in most cases, you just get another boss. In my case, I'm very lucky to be living with mine, and we've continued on with our other interests since we both retired from teaching at about the same time. We've done a lot of traveling, and I think the most important thing in my life has been the family part. I have 3 children, and they've all turned out very well in my eyes anyway. No one's in jail. Nobody's living with me, and I hope it stays that way. Anyway, I have one son graduated from Queen's Engineering Physics. He's kind of a mixed bag science guy. At present, he's employed doing energy research all over Canada, mostly in this area. He has 3 beautiful granddaughters, and they are very beautiful. He married a Vietnamese girl, and so consequently, I have these 3 lovely little dolls. My second child is a boy, Peter. He went into physical education. He also is a teacher, and he also has 3 daughters. But they aren't little. They're all taller than I am. They're giants, and they're wonderful volleyball players and good athletes. And the eldest one is off to university, although she's still at home this year. Second one has a year to put in this year, and then she'll be off somewhere, hopefully. And then the little trailer, she's got a few more years before she leaves high school athletics. My daughter, she went into occupational therapy at Queen's, and she is now in administration, health administration out in the Yukon. She and her husband moved out to the Yukon 2 years ago, and fortunately or unfortunately for us, it's a long way to go to visit the 2 remaining grandchildren who are much younger, an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, but we've worked out a way of visiting this summer. They went on a 2-week holiday in a camper, and we flew out, stayed in their house under quarantine to meet those obligations. So when the parents came back, they went back to work, and Marilyn and I got to spend a couple of weeks taking care of the kids and just really enjoying their company. So those are probably the main things in my life. I'm so impressed, you know, reading all of your little stories and recalling people I haven't thought about for a long time. You were talking there, Billy Ambler, for example. When I was cleaning out my father's house, I came across a stash of stuff, and in there, Bill, was our blueprint building designs for what was called a transceiver, or a walkie-talkie that we were always going to build and never did. And, you know, I've been talking to Mike Weeks, and the other night we recalled some incredible stories we shared, and Doug Copeman, and and there are others too that I won't go on because they're sort of one-on-one kinds of remembrances. But I do remember somebody who was just in the picture here a minute ago, and that was a dance partner I had, Anita Santon. And I don't know if Anita would remember or not, but we had to go on stage at one of the concerts. I think maybe it was a Christmas concert at school, and do this polka, which she was going so fast around the stage that I lost my balance, and I think my feet weren't even on the stage for about half of the dance. So I don't know, Anita, whether you remember that or not. Probably not. Likely it was something you would have liked to forget. Anyway, Bob Burns, you still owe me $1.50. All right. Through the teaching career, I was lucky enough to spend a couple of years in exchange situations in Australia. And so Australia is a place that my wife and I enjoy very much, and we even considered at an earlier age moving there to live, but we didn't. But I can understand how the appeal of that country. That's about it. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Ed. We acknowledged yesterday in our warm-up that Ed was the designer, his moment of fame, designing the Hugh Beaton pin. I don't know how many you still have them stowed away somewhere. Have you still got yours, Ed? I hope you do, as the founder of that design.
I do, but I couldn't find it when someone asked about it.
Great. Okay, Joanne Liddell. Joanne. Unmute, Joanne. Go ahead. Unmute, Joanne.
Yeah. Right. Can you hear
There,
me?
you're on. You're on. Good.
Okay. It's really good to see all the people that are here. And I remember most of you. Some of us have changed, and I don't think some of us have changed. I don't know if it's just me. You've read my summary, so I won't repeat that. But I'm just thinking, I'm Anita. I can remember when you moved into your house and there were no houses on Amiens, but mine was down at the furthest end. And then you were building your house and then you moved in. And it was just, I've been thinking about a lot of stuff since we're talking about Hugh Beaton. And then Barbara Booner and Barbara Cotton, and who else? Everybody. I just think it's really nice that Jack is doing this. And my husband and I were both teachers, as I said in my outline, and we had 2 daughters, and one of them is a lawyer and one is a pediatrician, and they live in Ottawa and, well, Burlington, but she works in Toronto. And they have 3 kids, and we traveled a lot to a lot of places, and we've just had a really good time. So that's all I have to say. This is so nice of Jack to be doing this. So.
Thanks, Joanne. I also want to acknowledge Mike Weeks. You know, we came up with this idea having this call, but I think Mike played a valuable role in getting everybody to write their little story ahead of time, which we acknowledge. So Mike, that was a good addition to make this thing work and give everybody a chance to express themselves. So that was good.
Okay.
Thanks, Joanne. Encourage your brother.
Pardon?
Encourage your brother to keep sending those little stories that he writes. So I love it.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just realizing here, I'm sitting right beside Bill Ambler in this picture, and he was my neighbor across the street on Amiens, and I can remember him, but I don't remember that you looked like that. I guess changed. A couple of other people I don't remember either. Sheila Cowan still looks the same, and Jack. and it doesn't matter.
No.
So that's
Good,
my new.
okay. Thanks, Joanne. Okay, Gladys is incognito, so we can't see what Gladys looks like. I don't think her camera worked yesterday. So Gladys,
No,
over to you.
and it still isn't, but I'm happy to be here. Like
Right.
everyone, thank you to Donna and Jack.
And,
welcome.
and Linda, founder. Yeah.
And it's been kind of the highlight of the last few weeks, getting to read everybody's story and what they've been doing. It's been fascinating. We've all had great lives from the things we've read. Graduating from Hugh Beaton is so different from my grandson's 12 and lives in Toronto. And school life for elementary kids is not what ours was, where we all played together, walked to school, all had great times. Everything's so structured now. I kind of feel sorry for him that he's missed out on all the fun we had, just all being together all the time. Both my husband and I were teachers. He taught history and I taught French and Spanish. So when we started to do a lot of traveling after he retired, we kind of had complemented each other with our languages and our history, and we were able to really enjoy a lot of the places we went to. Between graduating from university, I spent a summer in Barcelona teaching Spanish at a school there. So that really supplemented my Spanish, which was great. I only taught at Walkerville for 6 years because I retired after my son was born and decided to be a stay-at-home mom. As I mentioned yesterday, it's kind of strange when you go back to teach in a school where you were a student and sort of had all of these teachers on pedestals who now wanted you to call them by their first name. Was very, very awkward, but eventually you get used to it. When I stopped teaching, I did a lot of volunteer work. Scott Gregory is being very modest. Scott Gregory is one of our famous artists here in Windsor and has had many showings and traveled the world with them. So he's being quite humble and saying he's a painter. He's just done fabulous work here. I did a lot of volunteer work at the art gallery after I stopped teaching. So I did see Scott once in a while around when he had exhibitions showing. I also did volunteer work at the Red Cross. When we weren't traveling, we enjoyed the theater. We still do sort of have seasons tickets at the Fisher Theater in Detroit, but the borders closed, so we don't quite know what's going to happen with that. Similarly, with Symphony here in Windsor, there's no concerts going on, so our life has certainly changed from all of the things we were used to doing. But it's really been great seeing all of you and talking to you and learning what you've been doing. And I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of you that are still going to speak tonight. Thanks again, Jack.
So Gladys, it's Scott. I want to know, where do I send a check?
I just couldn't let it go with you being so humble about all the great accomplishments you've achieved.
You're very kind. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Gladys. Okay, Paul Newman. Paul.
Paul Newman. I won't go through all of the
That's you.
notes that I made on that we sent in. Just to summarize a few things, we've lived in a number of places in Canada: Montreal, Toronto, Calgary, Halifax, London, and we're now in Oakville. So we've seen a good part of Canada, which has been great. It is good to see you all, and when people, when I meet people now and they say good to see you, my response is it's good to be seen. The Windsor is still the center of the universe. I have a sister that lives in Windsor. She has three of her 5 children and family live there, so we get down periodically, and in fact are going down to Windsor week after next to spend a couple of days and see the family and see some other friends. So that'll be good. Looking forward to that. One of my nieces has 2 children who are presently enrolled at Hugh Beaton. So we have alumni in the group. We have 3 adult children, as I mentioned in my note. They're all married, they're all gainfully employed, they're all off the payroll, which is wonderful. We have 8 grandchildren, seven girls, which is always good because as my wife and I get more and more feeble, the more girls you've got in the family, the more likelihood somebody's going to look after you. Oh, I know what I got. I was going through some files the other day. If you can see this. Where is it here? Anyways, this is, I have my report cards from Hugh Beaton. And when I look at them, I'm not going to open them up because when I look at them, I realized that academics was secondary in my Hugh Beaton career. I had a lot of fun at Hugh Beaton. There are lots of notes here, could do better. And I always remember going home to my dad with these report cards, wondering how I could hide the notes, could do better. I don't know, the only other thing I'll mention is we lived on Verdun, and as you probably know, there was a whole series of streets, side streets, Verdun, Amiens, Ypres, Lorraine, Alsace, all named after World War I sites. And several years ago, or 4 or 5 years ago, my wife and I and another couple, we went over to France, and part of the trip was to visit the World War I sites. So it was all kind of neat to see that connection with Windsor. That's about it. I have been back to Hugh Beaton and visited, and unlike Lauren, I found it quite enjoyable. I was pleased to go into the boys' washroom and see that they still had, at least at that stage, they had marble walls separating the urinals, which was always kind of neat. And they had an electronic scoreboard in the gymnasium, keep track of the scores, basketball, and that type of thing. Anyways, good to see everybody, and as I said, good to be seen.
Paul, I'm disappointed. Yesterday, we announced the expose. This is not Hugh Beaton, but Walkerville. Paul is doing a research study on the impact on later life of the fact that at Walkerville in the early years, all the male students had to swim nude. And we wondered whether or not that had any effect on the rest of us in later life. And he's doing an expose as to what were the causes behind this. Doing your bit for mankind, Paul. That's very kind of you. Yeah, that's good. That's a joke. That's a joke.
We're having some second thoughts about what was going on in those
Yes.
in the swimming pool with the new boys.
Yeah, we don't know. Okay, thank you, Paul. Okay, Doug Dixon. Doug, waiting to hear from you.
Here we go. Hi, folks.
Hey, Doug.
Jack
Hi, Doug.
and Donna, thank you very much. Very, and Mike Weeks, where did he go anyway? Is he still in the group here? I saw him earlier. Anyway, thanks very much. This is great to get together and try and figure out who's who after 65 years. Let's go early days of teaching. I was a teacher as well. Many teachers in our group. I actually taught practice teaching week, just 1 week at Hugh Beaton. Taught in Windsor and Toronto, part-time here and there, teaching, but mostly getting into sales and moving up to Toronto. More recently, well, I say recently, 85, I bought a farm. I'm at Rob Roy, Ontario. Does anybody know where that is? Barrie, Collingwood, Blue Mountain, we're up in that area. And back 20 years ago, we started a dog sled business. And one of my key helpers, who I ended up marrying, a young lady from Tokyo, Japan, because we heard some had been in Japan and living there. Who speaks Japanese, by the way? Who was that?
That's me.
John.
Kashikomarimashita.
Ah, konnichiwa. That's it. Anyway, Naoko is her name, and we had a dog sled business for 18 years. So still have a few of the Huskies. And I hear Ken was living in the Yukon. We were up there visiting. You wouldn't happen to know Frank Turner by any chance? He's
I know him extremely well. He's the owner of Muktuk Kennels, and he has run
got
the
a
Yukon
kennel.
Quest dog race at least
Right,
15
that's right.
times.
Yeah, that's right. He's his story was a Torontonian, and it was either a choice of going down to the south, one of the islands, or the Yukon, two extremes, and he ended up in the Yukon. And he actually offered me to come and they were going up to the Arctic dog sledding, and I said, "Oh, well, I think I've got something in back in Rob Roy to look after." Never did that, but anyway, that was very interesting experience. Still have some of our 35 Huskies. There's 6 of them. These are our babies. They're in retirement, but we're not. Living on a farm, we never stop. And we have, what else are we doing here? Special events. At present, we do an Airbnb. Well, actually not this year, but we do an Airbnb. You can check it out, Glamping on Niagara Escarpment Farm. And you can see some photos and get an idea of what we are doing. At least will be again next year. I have one question. I was a DJ. I thought it was the graduation dance. And then I see in the write-ups that mention a garden party. If possibly it was a garden party, I was a DJ. Well, anyway, it was grade 8, I remember. Played Frank Sinatra, the big bands, and all the music of the 50s. And I slipped in a Little Richard song. And I don't know if you remember it, but I looked at the audience and the teachers, and their mouths were wide open. Never heard such a thing. You got a picture, we're talking 55, 56, well, 55, 56, somewhere in that area there. But, anyway, we keep smiling, and I must say, for the lockdown, it's we don't see much difference because we're busy on the farm, chores, and keeping things together here, and looking for winter. Can't wait. Anybody else? Good to see you all.
So thanks, Doug. Doug sent some photos of his glamping facilities, and I promise next time I come to Canada, Doug, I'm going to come up and stay. So maybe we can have a live reunion as kind of at some stage of the game. So I'm looking forward to this.
Sounds good, Jack.
Great. Okay, thank you, Doug. Allison Moore,
Here I am.
She is. Welcome.
Thanks very much, Jack, for doing this. It was a lot of work, and nice to meet you, Donna.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
I enjoy the stories every day. I meant to reread them before tonight. Anyway, I was a nurse. I was one of the few nurses. And as I said in my story, the Montreal Children's was my favorite place. And then after the girls were born, I went back to the Royal Vic in obstetrics and almost had Judy Pritchard when she had her babies. I moved to, we were in Hudson, Quebec, and then Ted and I moved to Brockville 30 years ago. And we love living here. We're on the river, and we've done lots of traveling, both with his business and then after he retired. And I have 2 daughters, one in Montreal, one in Newmarket, and 3 grandchildren. And I spent many, many summers in Halliburton and Hilton Head in the winter, but probably not this winter because of the virus, but we'll see. We haven't canceled yet. And that's about it.
Okay, well, thank you, Allison. Good to see you, and glad we were able to find you. Next, the mother of this event, Linda Robertson. Linda, you're on.
I'm on. Hi, everybody. Great to see you. And thanks, Jack, for organizing, and Donna.
You're
Turned
welcome.
turned out Donna and I found out we used to live 3 doors from each other when I lived on Durham Place Road. So we connected
Me too.
there. Yeah. So anyway, I moved from Windsor in the middle of grade 9, sadly, because I missed all my friends. Moved to Oakville, still here. Was married, divorced, have 2 sons. I was in the arena one day, ran into Paul Newman, and our sons are best friends, and his wife and I are great friends. One son's in Seattle with 2 girls, and the other son is in Toronto with 2 boys, and did a lot of traveling, especially with Sue Newman. Had a couple of bouts of cancer, but survived that, luckily. And life is good. COVID's not so great, so hopefully we'll get through it all. Loved Hugh Beaton. We had some great parties. Too bad we didn't find Kathy Gale. Spin the bottle and things like that. They were great. We had some great fun. And Hugh Beaton was a great school, great foundation, obviously, because everyone has done so well. Anyway, great to see everyone. Thanks, Jack.
Linda has some very risque photographs, which she probably can be persuaded to, if you send her an email, of those spin the bottle parties, which are somewhat incriminating. So if you want to have a flashback, we must have been all of 12 years old, Linda. So
we were.
We're a little ahead of our time. I think we're ahead of
You
our
and
time.
you and I were necking in one of them.
You don't
Or
have to
something.
get that graphic.
End of story.
Okay. Thank you. Judy Pritchard. Where are you, Judy? There you are.
She's there.
Judy, you're on mute. Mute.
Yeah.
We hear
Well,
you.
hello, everyone. Great to see everyone. And I enjoyed having a pre-conversation with Linda and Allison and Sheila last week. It's, gosh, well, as I mentioned in my write-up, that I loved the square dancing. I think some of you here were part of the square dancing sets. I remembered my costume and with the big full skirt. It was such fun performing. And also the Pirates of Penzance with Jack singing. And well, I was just in the chorus, but I loved it. And even now I can remember all of the words to the songs and from the Pirates of Penzance.
Lauren was the star. Lauren was the sergeant major, which that song has gone on to fame. So Lauren, you were the I think the hero of that event. I didn't think anybody even remember. I put that in my write-up. But
Well, actually, that role was split. Billy, you and I split that role, didn't we? Didn't you play the Major General one night and I played it the other night?
You claimed it in your write-up. That's why I thought it was you, Lauren. So
Right, but I think
acknowledging Bill. That's good.
Yeah, but I think Bill played the major. Bill, are you there?
Jack, were you the policeman? Were you the cop? The head?
No, I was Frederick, whatever that was. I can't remember it.
Well, I sent a picture of this 5 of you, you know, the police.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And
Sorry,
I thought
Judy.
you were the head.
Sorry, Judy.
I was the last place.
We'll come back. Chaos.
I know.
I think Billy Ambler did play the sergeant major some of the time. I remember sending an email.
Major General. Yeah.
Right, the Major General, sorry. And I sent an email to Jack a couple of months ago and told him how disappointed I was that Mrs. McKinnon had picked him to sing Frederick just because he was tall and good looking, when I had the most angelic voice in the whole city. But Mrs. McKinnon didn't like me because I was a brat.
Okay, well, that's acknowledged. Yeah. Okay.
Bill
Judy,
Ambler.
Sorry.
He was the Major General, at least for part of that. I remember when he got picked, I was really pissed because I wanted that role. And I did have a shot at it, Nothing against you, Bill, but boy, was I pissed off.
I'm glad these memories live on. Judy,
I don't know.
no more comments. Judy's on. Finish, Judy, go.
Well, I was just, with regard to the Pirates of Penzance, I have been in touch with Kathy Gale, and she says hello to everyone. And she was Buttercup, she told me. I'd forgotten that. Anyhow, and I believe she was Doug Gordon's partner in the square dancing.
Yeah, she was in Miss Ford's, one of those performances. We had to go to, it was at Walkerville Collegiate. I remember my mother made the uniform for me. It was red, black, and white. And my little sister still has that pattern from way back then. And I remember it was Kathy and I don't know who else it was. This is a huge deal. You know, here, little white boy going to Walkerville Collegiate, get it up on the stage. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
Miss Ford did that. I remember, I mean, people.
Yeah, Miss Ford, yeah.
That
Yeah, it was fun. It was
square
lots of
dancing,
fun.
like the other.
Sorry, Judy. Carry on.
That's okay. But so what shall I say? I lived in Windsor until I was at Beaton from grade 5 to grade 8, and then Walkerville until the middle of grade 12, and then we moved to Oakville in the middle of grade 12. I graduated from Western, taught high school for a couple of years, and then traveled and worked in Europe on $5 a day. It was a great year, 1966, 1967. And then when I came back, I decided I wanted to try something other than teaching. My brother suggested they were looking for people at IBM. I interviewed, tried a programming aptitude test, and became a computer programmer. Knew nothing about computers, but they put me on a training course for 6 months, and there you go. So I was in the computer industry for 15 years with IBM, and we lived, my husband was transferred several times. We lived in London, Toronto, Montreal, and then finally down in Boston. I worked for EDS in the computer industry in Boston for 6 or 7 years. And that was about it. Then we retired. I have 2 children, 2 daughters. And we started a bit late. Our daughters are starting late. And so we have 1 3-year-old grandson and another granddaughter on her way in January. In Boston, it's been hard to see our daughters who live in Toronto, but we had a wonderful experience this summer at a family cottage in the Gatineau Valley, and we were there for six weeks, isolating for a couple of weeks, and then there for the rest of the time, and then back to Boston and isolating again in Boston when we got back. But we're surviving, and yeah, life is good. So it's lovely to see all of you. Lovely to see you, Jack. And I do remember in grade 8, we went, Jack was my first date, and we went to the garden party together. And he was very handsome in his white sports coat.
No pink carnation, though. Yeah, that was a missing thing. I was Judy's paper boy, so I think she felt sorry for me. So, you know, so she invited me to go to the garden party, and then she reappeared at Western as a drum majorette. And I remember kind of the band and the majorettes, and the big hats and all that. So, and then
that was fun.
We haven't been in touch for ever since then. So
yeah,
glad to
that's
reconnect.
right.
Thanks.
I do remember a couple of cute things, Jack, about the garden party. Those were the days when there was only 1 car per family. And so I was in my front yard, and you had to walk by my house carrying big bags of groceries to take the groceries for your mother from the grocery store home before you could come and get me for the garden party.
Well, that's good. I don't remember that, but that's good. Get my white sport coat on. Yeah. Great.
The other thing I remember, the one more thing I remember is that you, we ran out of money, and you went home for more money, and I want to apologize to you for that, Jack.
What did we need money for? What was the money?
I don't know. What did you spend money at?
On
Or
I might have lied about that. Yeah, I was probably getting nervous. Yeah, probably wasn't.
It was probably the kissing booth.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Well, I don't know that was Candy Gale's basement. So, okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's all.
Anita. You're on, Anita. Can she, Anita?
Anita.
Is she frozen? No, she's, Anita, you're on? What's happening?
Oh, sorry, everything.
Yes.
So I couldn't
That's
hear my
you.
voice. I'm
You.
here. Listen, thank you so much. This is so much fun. And thanks, Mike, for the idea of the stories. It's just a flood of memories. Although I'm still in Waterloo after almost 50 years, I do go back and forth to see my mom. She turned 102 in August, and she still lives in the same house my dad built for us when I was in kindergarten. So I love going to that house, and every time I go for a walk, I go down to Memorial Park and I walk by the school and look around. When I've been in the school, I find how small it is compared to my memory. But every time I walk through any part of it, it's just a flood of things. And I know what you mean about the garden party. I thought they were awesome and awesome. And on my way home, Sheila, I always walk by your house, your old house, on the corner of Chilver, and it's just a great thing. And I have to say something to Allison Orr. I named one of my daughters after you.
Hey.
I thought Allison Orr was the epitome of what it was to be feminine. So I named my Allison Buchanan after Allison Orr. But I have 9 grandchildren. I had 2 girls, but I have 2 girl grandchildren and 7 boys, and it was culture shock, but that's fun. And Scott Gregory, I have a story to tell you. When I came home from school one day, I said to my mother, there's a very nice boy in my class, but I can't remember which way his name goes. I don't know if it's Scott Gregory or Gregory Scott. I don't want to call him in case I would hurt his feelings. And my mother said to me, oh, it's Scott Gregory. I knew his mother. We grew up together. So I thought that was kind of cute. I've never forgotten that. But the dances and the Pirates of Penzance, it was very culturally enriching environment, I thought, for sure. And I didn't mind when they told me just mouth words, do not sing in the chorus. I mean, if we had a costume and we were all there together, I thought it was super. But does anybody remember when in music class one day, we had to take sheets of cardboard and draw a piano keyboard on it? And we were taught to play the piano on this piece of cardboard. It was really good. So everything in school was really good. And anyhow, we're here, and it's just, I really enjoyed school all my life. I enjoyed learning all my life, but I think that the basis I got at Beaton really was what increased my toe into teaching and every other experience I had. It was really good. Anyhow, thanks, Jack. This has been super. And Lana, you too. This has just been great. Thank you.
You're welcome. We loved your note too. That was good. Janice Thurlow. Where are you, Janice? Where are you?
Oh, wait.
There you are. Okay, I found you. Okay, here you are. Yeah.
Janice, okay, I almost forgot to unmute. Anyway, the garden party was such fun. It was such fun. Now I would recognize Sheila and Anita and Allison's smile. Yeah, that's about the only ones I recognize. And Donna, you look familiar to me. You know, you were behind me in school, were you?
Yes, I was 3 years behind. I graduated in 59.
Not
funny, I was 12.
Yeah, well, it's funny, you know, we all lived in the same, like Jack was our paper boy too. And Brian Black lived across the street. And Carrie Marshall just lived up the street on the corner.
Yeah.
And Mary Beth Martin lived on Lincoln Road. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we all lived so close together. And I guess I had a crush on Gary Jacobson. Was that his name?
Right.
Yeah. And
he's
and I don't
where he is. He's missing.
Yeah. And I don't remember Laura Carr's name. I don't remember that. Now, I came to Burlington in '66, and I've been here ever since. My son went to school, my one and only son went to school in Windsor, and he stayed in Windsor. So my grandchildren are in Windsor. So, so I get back to Windsor somewhat. We often meet in London, which seems to work for everybody. My grandson just got hired by the Chatham School Board as a permanent supply teacher. So he has to be there every day just in case they need him. And my granddaughter's in honor sociology at Windsor. So, and during COVID, I've enjoyed playing bridge online very much. I've got different friends that I play with. And also, I help with English as a second language, and I really enjoy that, meeting people from all over the world. And small groups from church meet on Zoom. So I've had, you know, different occasions to use Zoom, which is quite fun. Now, I bet you Barbara Bugner doesn't remember that her dad and mom used to pick me up, pick me and my sister up to go to Walkerville.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, well, you did. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was really funny. Yeah. Now, you know, I say I felt like a kid till I was 72 and then something happened. Yeah, I don't feel like a kid anymore. Anyway, this has been such fun, and I keep telling Dawn I had such fun. I've enjoyed it so much, and thank you, Donna and Jack, so much.
Most welcome.
Great, thanks, Janice. Tom Tomlins has arrived. Tom, we've already covered the battle of the crushes between Sheila and Judy. Yeah, so it's okay. You know, they're going to work this out themselves. Okay. So you're the only guy. You're the only guy that had two of the girls secretly, I think, at the time, that unexpressed. Glad that after 65 years we get these secrets out. Tom, you're on mute. Unmute. Unmute, Tom.
I did. Is that better?
Yeah, you're on. Good, good.
I said what I said was it's a bit bad when you have to wait 70 years to find these things out, you know? You're sort of past your prime, as they say.
Tom, you weren't here for the preamble at the start. Tom, who had a doctor's appointment, so I'm glad you survived that, Tom.
I still have the appointment. I have to go in about half hour, an hour, something like that.
Okay. Well, Tom, the idea is just give a couple little highlights of what you can remember. And where you live now, they won't know that.
No, they won't. I live in Australia, obviously. The main city that's nearest to me is a place called Adelaide. It's the center of the world. And I live in a small town, a population of about 4,000 or 5,000. It's about an hour's drive down to where the river enters into the sea. And I live right on a golf course. I can take a golf ball and roll it off onto the 6th green, so I'm pretty lucky there. There are no buses. There are no stoplights. All we have is the old roundabout system. And we check everybody that wants to move in here. We have guards as the people. You can't just come into Google and be accepted. You have to go through a process. Wouldn't that be lovely if you could control everybody that you live near, eh? But, if I go back and think about things that took place in Hugh Beaton, one of the things that really tickled my fancy was Paul Newman was sitting in the front row in Arnie McCallum's class. And, you know, Arnie's up on the board and he's writing away, and you know, everybody and all the kids in the back sitting there, chit-chat. And Paul's taking up some papers, foolscap papers, crunching them up and throwing them into the waste paper basket beside his desk, right? He does this about six of them, and they all go in, you know. And all this time, McCallum's writing on the board, That doesn't turn around, doesn't say anything. He's still talking about the lesson. And then all of a sudden he stopped, didn't turn around. He said, "It's okay to do that, Newman, but if you miss a shot, you're going straight to Mr. Pogue." Remember that, dude?
I do remember that. There were 6 excellent shots in a row.
That's right. He said, "Just don't miss, Newman." Caught me a bit cold here.
I didn't make any. I didn't try it after that.
I play a lot of golf when I'm physically fit. I've had, because of playing football at Walkerville, I sort of made a bit of a mess of my knees, so it's a bit awkward at times. So I have to play golf in one of those ride-on carts, but that doesn't stop us. As I said in the letter, the notes that I sent through, unfortunately, my wife Sue passed away some time ago, and that's been a big hurdle that we're getting over. But as I said in the notes, she was just a wonderful lady. I don't think any of you knew her. She went to, I can't remember what school she went to. What was the school opposite Ottawa, opposite Ding Ho on the other side? It was a King George.
King George.
Yeah, King George.
King George.
Yeah, that's it.
She went to Walkerville, Tom, so everybody remembers from Walkerville.
Yeah, so I'm just saying she went from there to Walkerville, and that's
I got a picture. I got a picture of the two of you, and I'd like to send it to you.
Oh, good. Great.
It was taken at the Walkerville reunion.
Terrific, Judy. That's good.
Okay. I'll get your address or whatever.
Okay.
You can send, Judy, you can send it to me, Donna, and I will send it to everybody if you want, because I'll like to see it.
Sure. Did you get the pictures I sent you, Donna?
Yes, I did. I
Oh,
can send
okay.
those too.
Well, don't send them to me. I've got them.
I didn't know if you wanted me to send them out.
No,
but I do remember Sue. I remember Sue at Walkerville.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was Donna Fenton at that stage.
That's right.
That's right.
Yes.
Whereabouts
Yeah.
did you live, Donna?
Just over on Durham, down in the next
Durham.
block from.
That's right.
Yeah. Down there, Marianne Monk lived down there, and Linda Robertson lived down there, and we weren't very far from the Brandis boys, and we knew you two cute boys that were up there on Bing Road near Tecumseh. you and Mike.
Another contender, 3, Tom. That's 3. Cute boy.
Have you got a mention yet, Jack?
No.
Well, don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Just cut your hair off.
Okay.
Another sort of reminiscence of Hugh Beaton, what took place with Paul Newman. We both loved every kind of sport, and after football was over, we would, when we were just kids, we would play our version of baseball, which was taking a tennis ball, writing a little square, which would be the strike zone on the bricks, and then somebody throws it as the pitcher and the other guy hits it. And Newman kept hitting the ball over the fence, and I would say that that's a foul ball, it doesn't count. And he would, because he was bigger than me, he would argue, no, it was in. You know? So he always won the game.
Good. Okay, Tom, thanks. Okay, last but not least.
You caught me a little thing. I've been racing around trying to organize somebody to take my place at the doctor so that I can go take his place. So anyway.
What's that patch on your head, Tom? What have you done to yourself?
I fell down. I tried to knock a wall down and it won.
Okay.
6 stitches.
Were you sober at the time, Tom, or?
Completely, Jack. Completely.
Okay, okay, thanks, Tom. We'll come back to you. Mike, last but not least, you're on.
Used to being last, always the last one in every, that's good. I thank you, Jack, and Donna for being there to coordinate and to make this thing happen. I look back, I won't go over everything I told you I did in my little resume, but Hugh Beaton was special. I can say to all of you girls, probably at one time or another, I was in love with you. I was sort of one of those boys that one day this girl was the most beautiful girl, and I'd go home, I'd just think about it. Then another day, someone else would take the place. So all the names are familiar. And I think all the girls, I thought at one time, I wanted you as my girlfriend. And I think Eddie Colfish felt the same. Doug Nixon felt the same. Robbie Thompson, we all did, because all the girls looked pretty then. And the exciting parts were when we got to square dance, you get to actually touch every girl's hand when we go round and around the corners. You sort of do, let's do a promenade, let's change partners.
Pomerone, do-si-do.
It was a fun thing to do. I think we were really gifted to have the teachers we had. And I think we were gifted to have some of you as part of our growing up years, because all of us tended to go on and do something special. We got good families, we got good grandkids. We're proud of what we've done. I look back, Hugh Beaton's a big thing on my mind. The garden parties, they were wonderful. I was lucky though. I got to teach with Kay Ford, and I told everyone last night I got to dance with her. I got to go to Detroit one night with her, and we got a chance to practice all types of dances, because she took me to the place where all the dance teachers were, and you had to dance. And it was just one dance after another, everybody taking over, and it was just amazing. I used dance a lot when I started teaching. All the way through my career, I would teach dances to kids. I would use the dances for kids to feel comfortable in high school. When I taught in high school, I realized the importance of girls and boys meeting, and the fun line dances we used to do, and Walkerville sock hops. I mean, they were wonderful things. All through my career, I loved my teaching. I was fortunate to teach every grade level from kindergarten to grade 13 and 1 year at university. I was fortunate enough to do every type of job. I was a vice principal in elementary and secondary, a principal in elementary, secondary, assistant superintendent, and I got to really see education from the good and the bad and the ugly, and I love it. I think teachers, we can shape so many kids' lives, and a lot of you have, and you know what I'm talking about. My greatest times have always been teaching. When I ran the last 2 years ago, I was asked to go over to China again to help a school get underway that was having trouble. They lost their principal, so I went in, and it was a big school, and it was at a university, but they were like kids from grade 1 up to grade 11 at the time. It was an IB school. And we had a big problem came up. We lost the grade 1 teacher. And I realized at that time that, you know what? No, nobody needs a principal. The principal or who's running the school, it doesn't matter. It's the teachers in the classroom. And the easiest jobs were being like the principal. Hardest job, the teacher. Hardest job, the lower end teachers. Easiest jobs, grade 13, grade 12 teachers. So I took over a grade 1 class, and I taught them for about 8 weeks. Best, most exciting time I ever had in my teaching career, because I could teach those kids anything. And something that we've learned in Canada is that we underestimate the value of what kids can do, or what they can accomplish. China, in their education system, totally different. Parents want education, and they start them young. Kids want to be in school. No discipline problems. I didn't run into one. And in grade 1, to give you an idea of what they were capable of, I taught them, they said to one of the kids, we want to learn the hard words. What's the hardest word? And I remember saying, the mono-ultra microscopic silicovolcanoconiosis. And within the week, every single student could spell it, could print it, and we're proud to say, mono-ultra microscopic silicovolcanoconiosis, it's a disease of the lungs caused by fine volcanic ash and dust, and it happens sometimes when you get volcanoes around the world, and that causes problems. And after that, they were learning their spelling words. So some of the parents would come and say, what are you doing in spelling? You're doing pneumonia? You're giving them all these words? I said, they want to do it. They're grade ones. By the end of the 8 weeks, most of them read grade 5 books without any trouble. And I realized that when we were in school, we were given things to learn a lot. We just were sort of taught. And when I saw the IB and I realized how much that teaches kids how to learn, you just give the kids topics, let them choose what they want. Teacher then gets out of the way and the kids start learning, teaching, and discovering things for themselves. And what an eye-opener to see what kids can do. Love to go back and start again. Love to go back to Hugh Beaton and actually study or do my homework one night, because I would never do it all through high school.
You know, I'd like to go back, Mike.
It would be bad. 50% was what I aimed for as a kid. That's all I aimed for. If I could, then unfortunately at high school, remember, if you fail one subject, you got to have 65. Fail 2 subjects, you got to have 70. Every term I was going around with the PE teacher, going to teachers, borrowing marks. Lend me 5 more marks so I can get my percentage up, so I can play football, I can play basketball, I can go to the track team. All the way through that happened. But when finally school meant something, it was my choice, my marks went up. And I remember last year being called down the principal's office saying, Mike, you're cheating. I said, what do you mean I'm cheating? Well, you've always failed most subjects and you're getting 80, 85%, so you cheated. I said, no, I started to study. No, you cheated. And I remember I sit down and rewrite a test. He says, wow, that's amazing. And then after that, I love school. Like I have to get out of that setting and you choose the subject you want. You just love learning. And 90% was easy if you like the subject. So as teachers, and all of you know this, just get the kids to enjoy what you're doing, get them to love it, and they do it. Going to grandkids, like you're all talking about, it's special because we can teach and work with our grandkids. And we can tell them how good we were, even though we were terrible at times, but we gave them always the best side of who we were. I was blessed. I sort of kept going with teaching, and if I get a chance to go, I'm going back to China, maybe help out somewhere. I think the biggest thing we have to do is don't stop doing what we love to do. I think all of us just got to get out there and be active, keep our health up, push ourselves. I get too many people saying you're too old to do this. They keep telling me, oh, Mike, come on, wait a minute. We're going to hike up the Great Wall. You're going to hike up the Great Wall? I say, yep, going up. You can't. It's you know, you're too old. You take the chair up. And I remember saying, well, look, I'll tell you what. Anyone that can beat me up that Great Wall, I'll treat you to lunch. And I know that one time I was the first one up to the Great Wall. They couldn't believe it. But we can do everything. Every single thing is possible. Just don't stop. And I think meeting everybody and seeing what's going on, I'm so proud to be part of what you've gone through. And I really love Kinnan. I thought he was amazing. And Jack and I talked about, we knew him just before he died. We wrote things for him for his testimonials. Arnie McCallum, he was great. Those guys I got to know personally, and they became good friends. And Kay Ford, wonderful person. Different slant when you get to see them and they're older too. So I look back, life has been an amazing journey, and I think it's still up. We can do anything we want to do. I just think we can't stop. And I hope, you know, somehow we can connect more and maybe get a chance to share some experiences. As a group, it'd be fun to get out and do things because I love the things we did. As I say, all of you girls were number one at the time, one another with most of us guys. I mean, because we had no idea. Okay, anyway, that's sort of the end of my little
Thanks,
spiel.
Mike. That's a wonderful wrap up as an ending. And Sheila, I think you should introduce them to the political liberal party, because any guy that can come in and open up with, I was in love with each and every one of you girls in the class. I mean, what a statement to win hearts. You would have made a politician too, Mike, you know, with a line like that. I loved you all. So that was great.
Hey, you gotta admit though, the girls were pretty. Every one of them were pretty. And I did not see any girls I didn't like when I went through school.
Well,
And
that's
I
great.
think
What about us boys?
you guys, you were always competing against each other. We were trying to be.
Anyway, just to kind of wind this up, we've all read all the little stories which we got thanks to Mike's intervention here in suggesting that. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting was what sensitive souls we were. And, I wrote down kind of where this came through, like Susan Brunk, she was always the last being chosen for a team. Lauren Brandis the same. When nobody else gets chosen, they didn't get changed. And then when it came to Mrs. McKinnon, Barbara Cotton, we're gonna choose anybody but you, Barbara. Doug Gordon.
Ken wants to say something.
Yeah, shut up, Mrs. McKinnon. Ed Colflesh, move your lips, but don't sing anything. Here we are 65 years later, and these are things that people remember, that in their youth, that those sort of things, they still carry with them. So we were sensitive souls, and probably we still are.
Ken wants to say something.
Okay,
Jack?
Ken, I'm gonna come to you next, Ken, and
Okay.
listen, we've been going, and you've all been very kind to hang in. We've been going an hour and 50 minutes. And we may have, and what I suggest is if you got a comment, rather than us trying to talk over top of each other, is raise your hand and I'll try and come to you. Maybe we'll maybe go for another 15. Those that have to go, feel free to go. Thank you for coming and participating. It's been a project that's kind of gone on, and I'm pleased we were able to pull this off. We missed some. I don't know where some of the people but I think we got the majority of us. Okay, Ken, you're on.
Okay, thank you, Jack. At the beginning, I deliberately didn't speak very long because I did want to hear from all of these other wonderful people, and it's been a fabulous night. But I do have a few anecdotes that I would like to share. First of all, Jack, I'm glad to see you change your view because that green screen was making parts of your body drop off, and it was most frightening. In any case, I wanted to talk, and I'll pick up on Mike's point. There were so many fabulous looking girls in Hugh Beaton School. I was like Mike, I was in love with almost everybody. There are a few who stand out in particular. Bev Robitaille, who was so tall and elegant and almost disdainful. She had this wonderful French, to hell with you, little guy, kind of thing, and I loved it. I loved dancing with Kathy Gale because even when I stepped on her foot, she would apologize to me. I have one anecdote about Mr. Kinnan, and the only time in my life that I was ever sent to the principal's office was in grade 7. I was sitting behind Jocelyn Riley, who we all know was drop dead gorgeous with those wavy locks of hers.
How do you go to just the name? Like, I just want to, wait, hold on. Oh. So I have to go. I got to, I'm done.
Okay.
I'll see you all later, I hope.
Okay. Good to see you, Scott.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah, who?
You were a great neighbor, remember? Tommy, across the street.
Yeah, I know, across the street. Yeah, that little yellow house, I think.
Good to see you.
We were 1841. You were right up. You were right across from the alley from the driveway from us. Yeah. I remember running into your mom on a bus one time, and she was. This is after you'd gone to Australia, and we talked a little bit, and she said she was getting ready to go to Australia again, and it was a really arduous trip. I remember that. Anyhow, take care. Bye, guys.
Bye.
So can I pick up now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, here I was in grade 7, behind Jocelyn Riley in Mr. Kinnan's class, and Mr. Kinnan was teaching physics that day. And I don't know what the lesson was exactly, doesn't really matter, but he said, and this is a direct quote, "Friction is caused when two bodies rub together." Well, of course, Jocelyn and I got terminal giggles, and we both got sent down to Mr. Polk. The hardest part was not sitting on that wooden bench waiting to see the principal. It was how the hell are we going to explain to him why we got sent down to the principal's office. Lauren, thank you. I've had so much fun the last couple of days exchanging emails with you, even though you're trying to erase me from history and replace me with Dave Goslin. I remember you, the way I remember you is wearing a blue checked short sleeve shirt and a great big garish green bow tie. Now, I know you probably never wore anything like that in your life, but that's how I remember you for some reason. And even in those days in grade 8, I remember looking at that guy who's so serious. And I thought, you know, that guy is either going to be an amazing corporate lawyer, or he's going to be a world famous doctor, or he's going to spend his entire life in jail for stock fraud. I'm glad you chose the second path, Lauren. I really am. There are others I wanted to talk about. I mean, nude swimming at Walkerville. I was 4'9" when I went to Walkerville. Nude swimming was so traumatic to me that I have never taken my clothes off since. I want to say a word to Dougie Copeman because I do have a score to settle with you, buddy. So I hope you're still here. The first love of my life was Christine McCall, and Doug Copeman moved in on my turf. And not only that, he beat the crap out of me. I ran home with tears in my eyes, snot dripping all over my face. And I told my mommy, Dougie Copeman beat me up and he stole Christine McCall. And my mom said, you should have hit him back. And I said, Mom, have you seen Doug Copeman? This man is a monster. But Doug, you mentioned that you lived in Strathroy for a while. My very first job as a journalist was at the Strathroy Age Dispatch. And when I applied for the job, I thought it was maybe a newsletter for an old folks home. But it was a wonderful experience. And so many of my Hugh Beaton days were wonderful. Going to see the Tigers because we were all part of school patrol. It's the one and only baseball game I've ever gone to in my life, and I hated every moment of it. But there was so much fun, and it's been lovely to see you all. If any of you are interested in doing a Facebook group page, so that we can carry on reminiscing and all that stuff, I'd be more than happy to serve as administrator. So Donna can help hook you up with me. And if you want to do that, Anita, good for you for the thumbs up, Anita. Okay, that's it. I've used up all my time, but thanks so much to everybody.
I think Doug should have a chance. Doug, you should have a chance to defend yourself here, as you do, both of you.
Ah, Doug, you coward. You don't want to take me on, do you? Now, if you tell me that you and Christine McCall have been married for the last 55 years, I'll forgive you. Otherwise, it's pistols at dawn the next time I see you.
I was really, for a long time, very good friends with Walter, the Christine's brother, and there are three of them, three older than that, plus the twin brother, Tom.
Yeah.
Now, Christine was younger, and I don't know where you're coming from because we never crossed swords, did a dance at a school or whatever. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you did too. You thumped the hell out of me.
And well, no, that's legitimate. That would be a good thing to do. But I don't think if you check Christine's memory bank, she'd have any recollection of myself. But I got Scott Gregory. You know, I was checking to see if he was still around, but he is now very good friends with Walt, Christine's brother.
Yeah.
And I could probably, I don't know, get a reference. You might want to check with Scott and see if he can verify your story.
Facts are not important when it comes to storytelling. You should know that, Doug.
I don't tell stories.
Lauren, you have a chance.
I just wanted to say, Ken, I never had a bow tie. You were thinking of Soupy Sales. I mean, he's the only.
That's right.
or you go home for lunch, like Jack said, that was our favorite pastime. Right on his little bird baths, and you know. Anyway, I just want to say, in terms of Doug Copeman and Jack Cowan, I've shared this with Jack. He probably shared it with Doug. One of my most traumatic memories was these two guys. You know, Cowan became a big jock and played football. I don't think Dougie ever played football, but he was a big guy. And we used to walk home from school. Hmm?
He
Did you play football, Doug?
Absolutely. Snap. Center.
All right, it doesn't matter, who cares? Anyway, so we'd be walking home from school, from Walkerville down Kildare Road, and I'd be walking for whatever reason between these two guys, okay? So there's Cowan on my right, Copeman on my left. They both outweighed me by at least, 50, 75 pounds. They were both at least a foot taller than me. And I'd be walking, and I don't know, they had this thing that they goaded me into talking about something. And as I was talking, suddenly they both come at me from each side and squash me, just like that, wham, and it was very traumatic. And I personally believe that gave Jack the idea at some point in his life to get into the hamburger business. Jack, is that true?
Tremendous sandwich. Tremendous sandwich is known as, Martin, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm the inspiration for Hungry Jacks. Okay.
Yeah. Earlier today, I was watching Jack's coronation as the Chancellor of Western University. My God, there were more trumpets than there are at the Stratford Festival. But that reminded me, how many of you remember June 2nd, 1953? You should, because that was the day
when the Queen came?
That was Elizabeth's coronation day.
Oh, yeah.
But for me, it was much more important because that is the day that Johnny Critchley and Stevie Jones and I, in Stevie's garage on Windermere Road, smoked our first cigars.
Well, don't you remember, it was in either grade 1 or grade 2, Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip, before she became queen, they came to Windsor. And we were all given these little paper flags. I think I was in Miss Larmer's class. We were all marched up to Tecumseh Road. Do you remember that? And we just stand there, and we stood there, and this great big black Imperial convertible came by, and there was Prince Philip and Princess Elizabeth, and we're all waving our flags. I never forgot that. There you go.
Yeah,
That's
I remember that.
Mother was there. Parading. Do you remember that story that I put out there? I mentioned the Queen when I was over there in 2012. I literally did stalk her. I went to every royal event for the Jubilee. I went to Ascot, the Changing the Guard. I got tickets for that. Garter service. I went out on the river, for the flotilla. So I stayed there 6 weeks. It was because I'm still a Queenie thing,
Well, Judy, I'm gonna share with all of you a story just because you brought this up, and as God is my witness, this is the truth. I studied at the Royal Marsden Hospital, part of my training. It's now still called the Marsden, but it was the major cancer hospital in central London. Anyway, one of my colleagues, who was very well off, very wealthy. Her sister and her brother-in-law had a beautiful home on the Royal Automobile Club golf course there, which was right at Epsom Downs. So she said, "I've got you tickets, you and Jill tickets for the Derby, and we have tickets for the Royal Circle." So that's fine. So what did I know? Anyway, we went to the Royal Circle, and suddenly people are sort of milling, and everyone's, "Oh, there comes the royal family." So I'm standing there, and I had my 35mm Pentax camera, and I see that the Queen is walking towards me. And as she is walking towards me, I pick up my camera to take a picture. I swear this is the truth. One of her bodyguards suddenly stands right in front of me. Knowingly, he stood right in front of me to block me. And believe it or not, the Queen saw this, and she stopped. She looked at me. She nodded. I took the picture, and she just walked on by.
Oh
Now,
my God.
I'm sure she remembers that to this day, right? But I thought, man, you got a lot of class, lady. Thank you very much. So that's my story.
Next reunion, which is going to be on Jack's motorboat, we're inviting the Queen. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motorboat.
Jack is very quiet. You notice he didn't say anything.
No.
Motorboat? I don't think it's a motorboat.
Well, I under-exaggerate.
Mike Weeks has got a canoe.
I actually have a boat, 31 foot. I forget what the name is, but I got one. Don't drive it. My
No
grandson.
wonder the grizzly got pissed off with you.
I got just something I wanted to share. I thought was really interesting to show you a little bit about people. When I first came to Squamish, I was working as an outward bound person on a leave of absence. And I had about 6 kids up Whistler, and we had gone up in October to get up and do some skiing, but carrying our skis up to the top of the hill. We went up and had fun, and we came down. And we're sitting around that night, and one of the kids said, "Do you know, across in Mr. Sinclair's cabin, the Prime Minister's there now?" And I said, "What do you mean, Prime Minister's there?" He said, "No, he's there all the time. He comes occasionally." So I look out the window, and you could see, there was no one out there, but I said, "Well, look, I'll go ask and see if we can go talk to him." So I remember I got up, in those days, you think you can do anything. I just went across the street, knocked on the door. Guy comes to the door and he says, "Yes, can I help you?" I said, "Well, I understand the Prime Minister's here, Trudeau?" And they said, "Yes, but who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm a teacher across the way with a bunch of kids, and I thought it'd be kind of neat if he would come and meet the kids, or we can come and meet him." And all of a sudden I heard a voice say, "Send them in, bring the kids." So I went back, brought the kids. Now, Trudeau spent about 1 or 2 hours talking to all the kids, talking to me. We had a wonderful experience. And how could this guy do this for us? And I was really impressed. So later, years and years later, I'm up Whistler with all the kids. I'd organize ski trip days on special pro D days. So all the kids would be skiing, and I'm up there with all the teachers. And all of a sudden, everyone said, "Oh, look, 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 look." And here comes Trudeau. He's coming in. And he's with another friend of mine that at the time was a good friend, the ski instructor, one of the heads of the ski school. And his name was Jim McCompton. And I look up and I say, "Holy jeez, that's Trudeau." He looked around, looked over and said, "Mike Weeks, how are you? Come on over. Come on, say hello." I went over, I shook his hand. He said, "Why don't you go with us?" I said, "No, I should be with the teachers. I think," he said, "Yes, you should be. That's where you should stay. If they're your teachers, stay with them, not with us." And anyway, some of these people, we think they're, they're nice people. Okay. Yeah. I got to introduce Paul Martin in our school when I was a vice principal. He came to Squamish. And I wasn't going to, the principal was going to. And I remember the principal, as all of a sudden we get the big call, the procession's coming close to the school, so we had to go outside, and the RCMP are there, and the lights are flashing, and all the kids are in the auditorium with 1,000 kids, and CBC and all the different people are there. And my principal looks at me, he says, "I'm not doing this." I said, "What do you mean you're not doing this?" He says, "You're going to have to introduce him." "I'm not doing it." I said, "Well, I don't want to do it." And he says, "You're the vice president, you do as you're told." So I had to take Paul Martin. And I knew him because he lived, right in the Devonshire area. And I think some of us went to school with his son, I think. Anyway, we shake hands, we come in.
And his wife.
Yes, that's right. And he's coming in, I'm with him, and then I go to the microphone, scared to death, because, oh, Jesus. And I start to talk. I said, we're blah, 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 blah. And we cheer, we do we have old Canada and everything. He comes up and he says, "Mike, this guy went to school with my son. I knew him, I'd see him." And he was he was so nice that it was so exciting to get involved in stuff like that. And it sure lifted my, who I was with the kids.
My first boss in Windsor was Roxy Maloney, who ran the drugstore at the corner of Tecumseh and Windermere. And she was Paul Martin's sister-in-law, and she hated his guts. Paul Martin Sr.
Jack.
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
You haven't told us about yourself, Jack.
You can Google anything you like.
Oh, I know all about him. I think it's his turn.
Okay.
You're right.
Good one, Linda.
I think I wrote it somewhat expansively in my little story, more than some of you did, about kind of some of the highlights of the Hugh Beaton days. And I'd lived in Kingsville prior to that, one room school, 8 classes, 1 teacher. And when I came to Hugh Beaton, it was kind of coming in, like going to New York City today, you know, I was going into the big city. And I was somewhat intimidated by the size of the classes and everything like this. And it took a while to adjust, but you know, that was kind of, you know, I remember the garden party. I remember the everything seemed so much bigger than what I was used to. And then I went to Walkerville like that. You know, those were great years. I still have my blue and whites. I got 5 blue and whites, which I look up. And Ken, I looked you up on the dispute as to whether or not you were really you in that photograph. And I have to tell you, unfortunately, I side with Lauren that it was Dave Goslin, not you in that photograph. So you must have been excellent. Yeah.
Oh my God, I gotta get out of here because obviously I'm in the wrong group.
No, I looked you up in grade 9. You're in the grade 9 photo. You know,
Yeah.
And you're also, I'm going to send you, you'll get later today, someone in this sent a photo of, it must be the grade 7 or the grade 5 or 4 photo in which Sheila Cowan is there with Susan Bailey in their brownie outfits. And you're in the front row sitting next to your friend Christian. So that photo and the grade 9 photo and the Dave Goslin one don't match.
So Jack, that's why when I look in the mirror, I see nothing.
Well, yeah, I can't comment on that, Ken. You know, maybe there's a problem. So I went to Walkerville, went to Western. As I say, Judy was the drum majorette. You know, we used to, you know, go on these football trips, and things like that. But and then
Those are fun weekends.
Pardon?
Those football trips, the train to Montreal and the train to Toronto, those are lots of fun.
Came back, lived in Toronto for 5 years, got married in 66, 4 kids, 12 grandkids, 69, 5 years later moved to Australia, lived in a place called Perth, which is on the West Coast. Was there for 10 years, moved to Sydney in 1980, started a business. And like most of you at that age, I hear these teachers' salaries, $3,600 a year, quite extraordinary, you know, to think. Anyway, I didn't have any money, but I got 30 Canadians who lent me $10,000 each. I had to pay them back, started a business. And 50 years later, I'm still doing it. So, and it's been an adventure. So, I go back to Canada. I've never really cut the apron strings. I've looked on kind of, you know, I'd say you got your where you originated. Home you never forget. Home is always home. There's not 2 of those. And so I've loved living in Australia. It's been terrific. But I've also kind of tried to keep some semblance of my parents have gone. I got a sister left, but I still, you know, you guys are like extended families. Some of you, and I'm going to stay at Doug Nixon's, you know, B&B. I'm going to look forward to that, Doug. I'm going to come up there and spend some time. So I look forward. But it's been. I've looked on, you know, life as an adventure. You know, it's been an adventure. And Mike, I think, you know, I think your words, I think, were really good. You know, here we are. You know, we've got to look after our health. If you lose your health, some of the people on this list, as I say, we've lost six of the people that were in this class. Health's important. You lose your health, nothing else matters. But you got to keep busy. You know, it doesn't have to be work, but you got to keep busy. You got to keep active, and you know, you just got to keep doing things. Otherwise, I think you just got to grind to a halt. So you got to keep active as you can, and I try and do that. You know, Mike said some of us were too fat. His daughter said we're too fat. You know, so eat too much. You know, things like that. But we get over that. So Linda, there, I've done my bit. Now listen, we've
Thanks
been
very
going,
much, Jack. And Donna, thank you again.
Yes, thank you both.
Yes,
thank
you.
Thank you.
I think the sign of any
You're
good
welcome.
you got to call it quits before everybody says, "Oh, they went too long." So I think we should probably end it. And
Jack,
yes,
Jack, I'd like to say thank you to your Catherine, because she works her butt off back there silently.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I'm quite surprised we pulled this off. To be very honest, we went in, we had great expectations, but I'm like a lot of you too. I'm a dinosaur on some of the new technologies and things like this. I can now, within the last 6 months, I've learned about Zoom and things like this. But I really wondered whether we'd really be able to get this done. So I'm delighted that we have.
Yeah, it was great.
And I think, Donna, you're kind of the glue of keeping these things going, so who knows?
With pleasure.
I think isn't there a Hugh Beaton 100th year or something coming up, 90th year coming up?
Yes.
What year? What year?
What is that, Donna? Do you know?
I think it was supposed to be this year was their 90th. So it's 10 years before it's their 100th, but Walkerville's is coming up.
Yeah, okay. Well, there may be an excuse for us to have another rally, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks, everybody. And
Thank you.
Let's try Ken. Ken's made an offer that if you want to, through Donna, Ken, you might see whether if there's a Facebook kind of connection that may help. Sheila, your lights on, or you just banged to something? That's okay.
I have no idea. I have no
Okay,
idea.
Great. Good luck to all.
Bye, Allison.
Keep healthy. Look after yourself.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye all.
Bye.
Hope to
Bye,
see you
everybody.
soon. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. and
Bye.
Bye, Tommy.
Bye.
goodbye.
Throw him a kiss.
So nice to see you again. Very fortunate. Right?
How do you get out of here? I don't even know.
I don't know how to leave.
At the bottom. Jack, right.
Oh, it
Jack,
says right at the bottom.
yeah,
Okay.
Jack can do it
Bye
too.
all.
Sheila, Jack is on us.
Take it easy. Stay safe. Don't anybody get the bug.
No.
Don't get
You have to
sick.
touch the top of your iPad.
Jack, you can end it too, eh?
Yeah, we'll end it. Are you all ready to go?
Yes. Thanks,
Sure.
Catherine.
Thanks, Catherine.
Yes.
Thank you, Donna.
Yes.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Donna. Thanks to everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Jack. Thanks.
Hey, Coper, about time we get together.
All right, I'm ending now. Okay, bye.
Good idea, Tom.
Bye.
Very good.